And we're back, and you're listening to Nella-Joi Nation, the nation's #1 show sharing news for and about the nation's disability community. I'm your host, Norma Stanley, and we're speaking with Miss Myrna Clayton, an international jazz singer and disability advocate, and also the founder and executive director of an organization, a nonprofit organization called Able To. And she was just sharing how she actually got into the work that she's doing now with regards to, understanding that there are people with disabilities who are differently able, who have talent. And share a little bit again about the young man that you heard can sing and haven't been able to find because, you've been looking for him for all these years.
Yes, he was 9, 10, or 11. He was a little boy, he's a young boy that was singing and struggled to get into the pulpit to sing. And, because pulpits oftentimes are not accessible, choir stands are oftentimes not accessible. And so that's communicating to the person in the audience, I'm not welcome here. I'm not invited to be a part here. And we don't know that. We don't realize that, but that's the reality because I can't get up there to participate. And that's an unintended barrier that exists, but neither here nor there. It just so happens that maybe, I was in awe like everybody else and was pleased to hear him sing. And then I went on about my business. But God would have it that he crossed my mind about 5 years later. And I was curious as to, I wonder where he is. I'd love to hear him now. I bet he's killing it. He ought to be a teenager, not killing it. And that's when I asked other musicians. And only one person out of about 30 or 40 musicians, when I say musicians, I mean leaders of bands, directors of choirs, in corporate bands, chorus, college choruses, hey, do you know any singers with disability? And out of all of those people, only one person said they knew someone. And that just numerically didn't make sense to me. I didn't know the stats that I know today, but that just didn't make sense. It's like one person knows one person. That just did not make sense to me. And so at that point is where I started the organization and have been still looking for him. And he ought to be in his 20s now. But I've been looking for him. I have no idea. I don't even know what church I was in. That's how it was like. It was like, okay, it was a wonderful experience,
Yeah.
And I don't recall, but because of him, I started the organization. He was the catalyst, and then it became a real passion for me because we had our very first. I had a talent show, and I began looking. It was a struggle for me to find persons, and it still is a struggle to find performing artists with disabilities that classify themselves as a person with a disability and a singer or as a performer. And so I was able to find some people, and we had our very first event at the Auburn Research Library, which in Atlanta is the only public facility that has an accessible stage. And so we had our talent show there. Well, it was at that point that, bless his heart, one of the security guards said to me, ma'am, if you have one more person in a wheelchair come in here, it's going to be a fire hazard. And I was like, and this was an audience, and in that place, they only had seating space for 3 wheelchairs. And so I said to the security guard, I was like, so where are they supposed to go? And he's like, I don't know, in the lobby. And so at that point, after some expletives, I was like, okay. And so at that point, I became interested not only in the artist, but the audience. And that's why I'm so sensitive about the audience as well, because we know because of our shows, we're going to have disproportionately more people with disabilities coming to the show. And so we have to make sure that they are welcome and they are safe and they feel free to come and that they'll enjoy the show. It's about enjoyment for us. And so, and they are they're ticket holders. So we want to make sure that it's enjoyable. And so where we perform is significant for us. The type of facility where we perform. There are places in this city that are very well known, whether it be the Fox or whether it be the Alliance, whether it be a lot of theaters that really, from an accessibility standpoint, suck.
Yeah.
And they're great facilities if you're an able-bodied person, but if you're not, then you really have a struggle because they are not accommodating you. Now, mind you, they're grandfathered in, yes, but that's why people don't come to the shows. And again, part of our thing with Able To is we realize our desire is to have the Tyler Perry effect. And let me just put him out there, the Tyler Perry effect. The Tyler Perry effect is that we want to expand the pie of live entertainment. We want people that are persons with disabilities to come to the shows, because when one person comes, you're not coming. Your daughter, Norma, is not going to come anywhere by herself. She's going to come with you and maybe friends of yours. And so it's that kind of thing that that exists. You're not coming by yourself. And so that means it's 2 tickets, maybe 3 or 4 that are coming that are normally not coming. And so as a result, that expands the pie from a revenue standpoint, from an attendance standpoint. All of that's available. And so I say the Tyler Perry effect because, truth be told, Tyler Perry brought theater to the Black community. A lot of Black folks didn't go to the theater, but because of Tyler Perry and his plays, he's expanded the pie and expanded the reach. And so not only are folks going to his plays, but they're going to other plays too. And so we want to have that same effect within the disability community to make people aware that this is a very viable. It's not like they don't have the money. This population has $220 billion of discretionary income, disposable income, and 20 billion of discretionary. It's kind of disposable discretionary. I get it kind of mixed up, but at the end of the day,
it's actually 500 billion discretionary and 250 exactly disposable.
That's a lot of money.
It's a lot of money. It's a lot of money.
Untapped. It's untapped.
Absolutely.
And we pay for what we want. And so yes, people. Let me not minimize it. Yes, people with disabilities have special needs, and if you can accommodate those needs, then people will come because we pay for what we want to pay for.
Absolutely, and being included in those kind of opportunities. Absolutely, and companies need to recognize that, and that's one of the things that we are all trying to do. That's what I do with my business, and that's what you're trying to do with your organization. Is help corporations understand the viability of this particular consumer segment. It's a huge consumer segment, and they're not paying enough attention.
And because Able To is connected, while we are a human services organization, a nonprofit, we use music and arts as our platform to deliver our message. And so with that, we know that the entertainment industry, film, television, shows, concerts, are what drive the economy primarily in Georgia. We know that we're the number one industry in Georgia, above construction, above finance, above any of these others. And so we have the opportunity to really speak to that. And because, again, the disability community is the largest minority population that anybody can join, and the largest minority population in the country, and the only one that anybody can join, then it becomes a very huge opportunity for us to speak out. And that's why our vision for Able To is to create agents of change. We want change agents. We want people to be able to be confident to speak up and speak out about what's rightfully theirs. This is your right. Absolutely. You're spending your money, then you should have the right to go wherever you want to go and be appreciated and valued for what you can do, not what you can't do. And so that's what I'm passionate about it because it's just very angering to me when people are, again, ignorant to the fact because they just don't know. And I don't want to say they don't want to know. They just have not been enlightened. They've not been made aware in order to know.
And I always get a little, perturbed when, as a member of the media, there was a time when, Mother's Day is a very sensitive time for us, and that's coming up in a couple of weeks. And there was a story that we hear murder stories every 2 seconds. We hear about all these things, but when it comes to the disability community, I've had situations where media will say, well, we just did a story about the disability community, so we don't need to do another one. It's like, excuse me, you do it, every 2 seconds somebody's getting killed or getting robbed or whatever, and you see that on the news. But if it comes to people with disabilities, somehow there's a certain limit amount of stories you can tell about that. So that's one of the reasons why this show exists, because we want to fill the gap. There's so much information, so many people doing some amazing things, whether they have disabilities or whether they support people with disabilities in that community. We want to be able to share that information. And so what you're doing with Able To, I think is phenomenal. And I, want to do what I can to support you and your efforts through this, this process, and to just sharing what it is that you do. And now you do a career day, also to help educate them, young people, starting at elementary all the way up. Tell the listening audience about what you're trying to do in that area.
Well, that started because of the awareness that we've been socialized not to point, not to stare, rather than trying to change adults' behavior. We thought, okay, well, let's connect with those who've newly been socialized, and hopefully they can change not only themselves but also their family members. That brothers, sisters, my mama, granddad, people that are around them. And so what we've been doing, and look to expand this, and so we're very open to expand this and looking for funding to expand this. But we go into an elementary school, and the entire elementary school, K through 5, are introduced to professionals with disabilities. We have professionals from, whatever their career profession. This last time we had a blind Tai Chi
hold on
instructor.
1 second. I'm sorry to interrupt you, but we have to take a break. But we're going to come back and talk about your career days, because I've been to a couple of them and they are amazing. And it's really in showing our young people how people with disabilities are doing some amazing things in various industries that they need to be exposed to. They need to see that there's some top-notch people who are killing it out there in their careers. So we're going to come back with Nella-Joi Nation and talk a little bit more about employment and the disability community.